I'm here with top Las Vegas criminal defense lawyer Michael Becker. And Mike, today I want to ask you about the Nevada crime of graffiti or tagging. And we get a lot of calls on this, a lot of people who've been charged with this. What exactly is the law, and what are the consequences if you get caught?
The penalties could range from anywhere between a misdemeanor, if the amount of damage was below $500, to a felony, if the amount of damage is over $5,000. So the consequences can be quite severe.
So, I mean, for example, if you tag up the outside of a Walgreens store, it really depends on how much it costs to clean it up and fix it in terms of how serious the penalties are that you might be facing.
That's correct, and a lot of people are astonished about how much damage a can of spray paint can actually do.
What if the tagging is sort of done by gang members or a tagging crew or kind of in furtherance of a gang? Does that make it more serious of a case?
Well, in that situation in Nevada, it's probably going to influence the prosecutor to be much more heavy-handed in terms of how they go about prosecuting the case.
Have you had success as a criminal defense lawyer in getting graffiti and tagging charges reduced or dismissed?
I have. I can give an example where I represented a juvenile who was charged with tagging his moniker on a wall of an apartment building. And witnesses were able to testify about the time period when the moniker was tagged on the wall. And in the process of arresting our client, they also searched his home and they took materials, some folders, some school folders that he had where he had written his moniker. Well, we were able to demonstrate that his moniker was actually written differently than the moniker that was tagged on the wall. Although it was the same name, his style of writing his moniker was different. So we went to the prosecutor and we showed him that. On top of that, it turned out that our client had been in juvenile hall at or near the time when the alleged tagging occurred. So the prosecutor has to be able to show, that the person whose moniker may be tagged on a wall actually placed it there. Sometimes we get cases where an individual is actually arrested with a spray paint in their possession or with the paint in their hand. But more often than not, it's much more formidable for the prosecutor to prove the charges against the defendant.
So in your example, basically, here was a kid who it looked like he was the one who did the tagging. And if he didn't have a good defense lawyer who really went the extra mile to investigate, might have been convicted, might have gone to juvenile hall and served time and had a criminal record. But by virtue of the work that you did, you're able to get the case dismissed and to clear his name.
I'm attorney Michael Becker with the Las Vegas Defense Group. If you've been charged with graffiti or tagging here in Nevada, call me at 702 Defense and we'll talk about what we can do to get your charges reduced or dismissed.